Welcome to Horror Makes Us Happy, the podcast where we ask the question, what is it about horror that makes us happy? Your hosts are Steve Becker and myself, Chris Whitman, and you can find out more about us at our website, horrormakesushappy.com. Before we get started, a little information for you and the listeners. This is the trigger warning. We're going to be talking about messed up stuff, and I'm going to call it something else in a second after this trigger warning. We're going to be talking about horror, movies, literature, culture, anything that could involve murder, rape, suicide, child abuse, and F-bombs. So if that's not your thing, go see something boring. But if that is your thing, listen to us talk about all kinds of fucked up shit like child abuse, murder, rape, and fucked up movies.
Whatever.
Is that why horror makes us happy?
That's
Some
one
people.
of the reasons. Yeah. We've gotten a lot of reasons throughout all of the guests that we've spoken to. And that is one of the reasons. Some people just generally are entertained by dark and macabre things.
You were number 37, by the way, in case you were wondering.
37?
Now serving number 37.
Those, to me, it's like a roller coaster ride. You know what I mean? It's like, I know it offends some people and stuff like that, but, I want to be entertained and moved. And I got a father-in-law that's always trying to convince me. Like yesterday, he was telling me, we're talking about Cowboys from Hell script, my movie coming up. He was saying, have you ever seen Where the Red Fern Grows, Billy? And I go, oh, yeah, it's a great movie. He goes, well, what about Shane or Old Yeller? He goes, you need to make something like that. You don't need all those cuss words and stuff in there. It's just making you. I go, they would laugh me out of the business. Right now.
Right? But, if I don't include any cuss words.
Yeah, so it's pretty, you could tell the difference in the generation gap for sure.
You can. Yeah, it's a little overused in some in some films, but you got to pepper in a little bit of fucks.
You got to push the envelope now too. Is even the lamest of network TV shows are pushing the envelope. If you don't push the envelope, nobody's going to remember what you're doing.
That's right.
Counterpoint that makes me wonder what today's Old Yeller would be.
Ooh,
that's a good question.
Let's see. It would be a Fallout Vault style post-apocalyptic thing, and Old Yeller would be the dog, but the dog would talk, and then they would run into alien zombie vampires.
The dog would still have to die at the end, though.
Well, of course, yeah.
That's what makes it Old Yeller.
And the dog would be CGI.
Well, yeah, the dog would be CGI the whole time. Actually, you know what? They could get Air Bud to do it. Yep.
Oh, it'd have to be a cyborg dog, too.
Yeah, of course it would. And it sacrifices itself in the end by jumping on the lead vampire with a bandolier of grenades, of light grenades.
Or because you got to, subvert expectations. Since the dog is the cybernetic one, the dog is the one that lives and the human dies.
Oh. All right, Mr. Shyamalan, I see what you did there. I see that.
Yes. All right.
That was a fun tangent. So,
yes.
Haven't even introduced our guest yet, but before doing that, next up, we will be talking to Zoe Smith, a.k.a. Zobo with a Shotgun. I think we're actually going to be finishing up her interview because we had to split it up because of some technical difficulties, but that's what's coming up next. But today, we have the pleasure of speaking with Mr. Billy Pond, director, writer, and producer of such works as Circus of the Dead and Dollboy. Good afternoon,
hey,
Billy. How you doing?
What's up, guys? How's it going? Happy Sunday to you.
Yeah, you as well. Before we get started, is there anything you're currently working on that you want to pitch?
Yeah, we're working on Cowboys from Hell will be my next feature.
Nice.
And we got Joe Don Baker coming out for it. Remember from Walking Tall?
Chris?
We also got y'all remember Walking Tall? Y'all too young for that?
The Dewey
So,
Cox
The name
story?
sounds familiar.
No, that's Walk Hard.
Oh, yeah.
This is Walking Tall. Yeah, he's a famous guy. He's been in retirement forever, but a legend, screen legend. I got a lot of old guys coming out, but I also got Bob Wall coming out from Enter the Dragon. He was one of Bruce Lee's friends and everything. So I got some old people coming out and some of my heroes that I wanted to work with.
Nice. Always good when you can do that.
But I'm gonna put it on the map as far as this Western stuff and horror, because I don't like to do things the regular way, as you could tell by Circus of the Dead. I wanted to do the opposite of what you would expect from a cheesy clown movie is what I was trying to do.
I still have to check that out and need to finish this with Bill Oberst Jr. because I have not done that because life sucks.
Yeah, he's the greatest guy in the world, and he killed it as popcorn too. I mean, it's my own movie, but I'm not a braggart or nothing. But Bill Oberst Jr. is the baddest mofo that's ever walked on this planet.
Yep.
And I'm slightly still waking up, so apologize. But isn't there something similar with Pantera?
Yeah. That's
Oh
one of their
yeah, just the
albums,
name.
Cowboys
Yeah,
from
yeah,
Hell.
yeah. Hmm.
Okay.
Yeah.
See what I try to do on the names of things, like Circus of the Dead was just I met George Romero at Texas Frightmare Weekend before he passed, and that's what it was. You know, then I just wanted an homage to him in the name, and I also like doing something that kind of confuses you. So if somebody sees it, they go, "Oh, this is going to be about zombie clowns or something, a zombie circus movie." I just wanted to confuse people, so that way I like to get people thinking.
Mm-hmm.
And Cowboys from Hell is just an homage to the Texas thing, but I just thought it was a cool name. I'm really into like this is going to be nerdy, and I apologize, but like typography and stuff like that for like Photoshop and all this kind of stuff. And I seen a movie called Posse from Hell a long time ago. I think it had who's that guy that was in Elm Street? He was also in John Saxon was in it, and the famous war veteran guy that was not Arnold Palmer, Arnie. What the heck is it? Famous one. That's what happens when you record on Sunday, isn't it? Your brain doesn't work good. But y'all did save me from going to church with the wife, so I do appreciate that.
You're welcome.
Thank you so much. I didn't want to break that streak of 40 years without church.
Yes. It's an important one.
I know.
So in this interview, we'll be asking 3 sets of questions covering your childhood, teenage years, and adult years. We come at it from different directions because sometimes it triggers different memories that you've forgotten. But that said, it's not meant to be a therapy session. So if there's something you don't want to answer, just say pass and we'll move on.
Yeah, I'll answer and cry. I'm okay.
Smiles and cries, man. Smiles and cries.
The wife's not there to hold your hand.
No, she hates us. She hates
she'll come
my
back
movie
from church
and
and be
everything.
like, "What the hell happened to you?"
I don't know why she's even with me. It's like my movie. She likes scary stuff, but more psychological stuff. My stuff is too, I guess, aggressive and mean for her. She doesn't like it at all.
Maybe we need to get her on the show.
My mom too. My mom won't watch this stuff either, so it's sad.
Yeah.
Yeah.
As long as you're making money and happy with it.
Shit, I'm already 5 minutes in, about to cry.
Oh. So starting with childhood, what are some of your earliest memories of scary things?
It's definitely my dad. You know, he'd take me to the drive-in movie theater and stuff like that. And
Thought you were gonna say your dad was scary.
no, he's scary too. But once the video VHS revolution started, we'd rent all kinds of movies and stuff. But he'd make us watch like Chainsaw 2 or something. He'd sneak out for about 10 or 15 minutes, and I knew what he was going to do because I'd have friends and stuff over. He'd put on a bloody apron and all he had was a stupid rubber vampire mask, and he'd crank up a chainsaw and come in the house and stuff like that. But,
Nice.
yeah, but that's why it's no surprise I got into haunted houses at such an early age and all.
Things I will do if I ever have kids. Yep. Yep.
Traumatize them.
Yeah.
But for him, it was the gorier the better. Like Evil Dead, Eaten Alive, all that kind of stuff, and we just loved it. I couldn't get enough of it as a kid. And then once I become a teenager and I can go rent movies myself, it's all she wrote. I had to rent everything that come out horror wise. I find myself going back because, I saw Chainsaw 2 before part 1. But once I went back and watched it, I fell in love with part 1. And that's probably one of my favorite Blueprint movies. I got about 4 or 5 Blueprint movies that kind of teach me my style, has taught me my style, what to do.
Okay. So starting off with 2 instead of 1, would you say your style is incorporated more with like a not 100% serious? There's always that little tongue-in-cheek kind of fun humor.
Definitely dark and wrong.
Yeah. Still
I'm
dark,
laughing,
still wrong.
but I shouldn't be laughing at this, but I'm laughing at it. So
yeah, it's like somebody animating a corpse on top of a car and attacking another car with a chainsaw, but they're shaking the corpse like it's a puppet, and that's funny. That is humor right there.
Yeah, that guy's head coming off. That was a very good movie to start out as a kid with.
Yeah, it was. How old were you when you saw it?
It must have been right when it come out. I saw that one, but I saw Shining 2 when it come out too. And that one really messed me up too. But that's my style. I think people ask me. I think it's 70s horror. If I had to pick one, I think it's 70s.
I'm gonna take a wild guess and say 70s Texas. Father bringing a chainsaw into the house. He probably didn't take the chain off, did he?
No, he didn't. It's too much
realism,
trouble.
man. That's dedication to the craft.
But that's he was half Chinese and he looked Chinese and a smaller guy. Now I'm like giant, but he was always picked on and stuff, because he looked different and all that kind of stuff. But see, he didn't like me watching John Wayne and all this. He wanted me to watch Bruce Lee stuff. So when I was young, I wasn't allowed to do Taekwondo or nothing like that. I had to do Kung Fu stuff. And so that's how he pushed me, is to grow up with Bruce Lee as an idol and stuff like that. So I watch my equal amount of those movies too, with the horror stuff.
Which is also has a similar sense of humor sometimes.
Yeah, agreed.
Oh, all right. So Chainsaw 2, you mentioned your father liked Evil Dead and Eaten Alive. Did you also see those when you were a kid?
Yes, totally. Like I said, anything like that was, because back then, you didn't have internet. You had Fangoria.
Yeah.
And you'd see these articles. You'd have to go find those movies at the VHS store. But it wasn't like now. You just jump on a computer and type in something and look for it. You had to go to 2 or 3 different mom and pop video stores. This was before the Blockbuster days,
Yep.
So you're just lucky enough to find that. And then what about the one you never heard of and you'd stumble on? You say, oh my God, this movie's great.
So let's see. Humor. What else did you love about it?
I mean, this is going to sound corny, but when I was a kid, it made me feel cooler. It was like I had friends and all that kind of stuff, but maybe wasn't the most popular person in the world. And I know Bill Oberst was saying that about himself too. So it kind of made me feel important that I knew all these movies and could talk about it. And that's where I started meeting friends in school that had similar interests and stuff. So I guess what I love about it is it introduced me to a lot of lifelong friends that I still have today because of our love for horror. So it's just like they're part of your club, part of your clan kind of thing. And I don't know. It's just they've always been good. And even up to today, I go to a ton of horror conventions as a guest and all. And horror people are like the best people in the world, And somebody outside of this business would say, well, I don't get it. They like weird stuff. It's like, yeah, but they're a lot nicer than these phony people that pretend to be one thing and do something else in the world. So I'll take a horror fan, a horror person over anybody else any day of the week. Just good people. So that's what I like about it. It's just very, what do you call it? They love one another. They love the craft. They love the thing. And there's not as much bickering, I guess, as far as the superhero movies and all that kind of stuff. Yeah.
I want to say it's familial, but there's got to be a better word for it.
There's got to be a better word.
Incestual.
Yeah, well, some of them. Sometimes that is included.
Yeah, but it does get I always get a lot of Art the Clown stuff people send to me and stuff. So I kid around about it. It's tongue in cheek. I really respect the movie a lot and happy for what they did and all this and how popular they got. So yeah, I like to kid around about that. But I get a lot of people that send me Art the Clown pictures and stuff and always mess with me and stuff. But I take it tongue in cheek and try to have fun with it.
Yeah, you touched on a couple different things that have come up in different calls too. I mean, as far as the general populace thinking that the horror community is weird, I mean, that was part of the reason that Chris and I wanted to do this, with brainstorming ideas, and realized, like I said, I come from a psych background, and Chris is the horror fan and fan. Yeah. Forgot what the hell I was going to say.
Well, I'll tell you this. You go back to your psychological thing and I'll elaborate on what I was saying. And Chris will probably say this hits a lot close to home, but I mean, all these kids in the world now are having identity issues or bullying issues or whatever. The thing with horror is what I found at a very, very young age is that we all dug it. And it just, like I said, it kind of opened up that friendship thing is, hey, you're almost kind of like family. So in that way, it kind of helped me through a lot of tough times as a kid and stuff like that until you actually started having sex with girls or something. You're very frustrated and all this kind of stuff. And it just kind of basically taught you how to grow up and stuff like that. So, I mean, it did a lot for me in life.
Yeah, I would agree. It does kind of, I don't want to say desensitize. You're right with this Sunday shit, man. I'm just at a lack of words today.
Well, you get your parents and stuff for trying to raise you as a good person, to go to church and all this kind of stuff. This was mine, and this was something I could relate to and do it. And, if I didn't quite relate to my parents or something, the one thing I could relate to are these, these people. When you watch The Gate or The Kids and that or something, or even like The Lost Boys or something, you can just relate to a lot of that kind of stuff, being that age and doing this kind of stuff. And those adventures, I mean, that's the kind of adventures you wanted to have at night and stuff like that, was hunting and killing vampires or monsters or something. It's just innately in us as, kids. We're curious about monsters. I got a 3-year-old grandbaby, almost 4, and she could name every killer, Michael Myers, Freddy Krueger, all this stuff.
Oh, okay. I thought you were going to say like real serial killers.
No, not. We haven't gone there yet. We'll wait a little bit. But see, I had a grandson
that's
too.
When she's 6.
Yeah.
Well, though, when they're 6, they get scared and they start backing off of this stuff. But see, right now she's all into it and she digs it. And I got like a Popcorn, the clown doll that she plays with, from the movie and stuff. And she'll sing to it like a My Buddy doll and all this kind of stuff. It's hilarious. It's like he's a serial rapist clown, baby. He's my friend, Papa.
Yeah, she don't know that.
Popcorn's my friend.
She doesn't understand yet.
Yeah.
No, going back to what I said a minute ago, what it was is, the general populace does sometimes think that, the horror community is a bit weird, but I've always been a believer that people make sense. You just got to figure out why it is that they make sense. And a lot of people just either don't have the time or interest to find out about that, but also, it's sort of a psychological thing too, that a lot of people, they come up with the easy answers that kind of sweep it under the rug and don't really necessarily always talk about what really is important to them. Like, for example, you've already mentioned that your father had this sense of humor and liked to, goof around and scare people and put on a mask and come in with a chainsaw and be crazy like that. And if you had this kind of relationship with him and he liked horror too, then, obviously there can be a familial relationship there. That's come up in some of the other calls. There's other reasons to enjoy horror as well. And even one that you already mentioned as far as like the identity thing of, there's a early childhood development thing where at a certain point in your life, you want to be like your parents, you want to be with them, you want to identify closely with them. And then later in life, you want to start to diverge from that and become your own person. And from that point on, it becomes this, tension of, I want to be close to you, but I also want to be my own person. Mm-hmm. And so in your case, you're talking about how horror can become its own identity and you find some other people that are similar to yourself like that. And that can be a great attraction as well. Although in this case, it's kind of interesting because you brought it up how it's different from your parents, but in the same way, in the same sentence, it's something that you did share with your father in some degree because he liked at least the humor part of it.
Well, they were, see, this is getting all psychological, but, they were divorced when I was like 1. So I had a stepdad. So like they were the one straight laced. You shouldn't watch this, all this kind of stuff. But my dad was out of the box. You know what I mean? It's my dad was real weird. And he was, in some ways it was bad. Like he would say, he wouldn't allow us to be scared of anything. If I showed any fear for anything in life, he would make us overcome it. Being scared of a dog or anything. I mean, he was overly macho to a point of, causing all these issues in me. And it's like, until I grew up later, I had to get out of that whole tough guy mentality, because it's like, it's like I changed in that way. And also, he could say, hey, we could do this in a movie. We could do this in a movie, but he never got a camera, never did that. And I know that stuff was harder, but he worked the oil field job and busted his ass all the time just to make money. So he gave up sacrificed a lot of things. But he always told me is don't use your back when you work, use your brain, so that way you last longer than I have. So
yeah, don't do what I've done.
Right. So, that's what I say is I do it. And when, him watching my first movie and all is I think he liked it and all, but I don't think he saw it as a good story thing. Cause I mean, I think, like I said, he's just a fan of Evil Dead and stuff. He just wanted to see crazy stuff. So I guess he's still that child at heart. He never changed. Whereas I started off with that stuff, but then I started getting into, I just want to make a good movie, a great movie that happens to be a horror movie. Yeah, that's what I want to do is no matter the genre, I just want it to be great.
Quality first.
Yeah.
Style after. Yeah.
Well, I say that's almost what I say all the time is unlike Chinese buffets, it's quality first, not quantity. So that's how I tell people. So.
Yeah. Finding a good quality Chinese buffet is difficult.
So
very much so.
You can't just shit out 500 garbage independent films that were filmed in a matter of like 8 hours and be good.
No,
it's
you guys
funny, we were just chatting about this a couple days or yesterday. Me, Chris, and 2 of our friends talking about apparently Disney wants to crank out an Aliens movie every 1 to 2 years. We were like, what? No,
I'm sure this will be fine.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Anyway,
well, that's all money. But no, I got other friends that they're putting out, I don't know, 3 every 2 years or something, and good for them and all. But there's a lot of them that I just I want something that moves me and all. I don't want something I'm not proud of. And I don't want something, any actor that comes to work with me or something on the movie or a crew person or anything. I want everybody to be proud of it. I can't stand doing something that I would be embarrassed of. And I'm a little embarrassed of Circus. I think it could be better. And hopefully I'll improve on this next movie. But, I'll still put it up against any other clown movie ever made.
Going back and looking at this short list that I've written of the movie you saw when you were a kid, I mean, I know there weren't your movies to be proud of, but you refer to holding them as some of your gold standard. So what
were the gold standards growing up?
Yeah.
Oh, I would say in no particular order. Of course, the original Chainsaw from '74, the Halloween '78, The Exorcist, The Shining. You can get off the beaten path that aren't as acclaimed as that. I kind of like that some of the Italian horror, like Torso, from an artsy standpoint. They kind of left you high and dry on the effects and stuff, but that was kind of the time.
Did you see that when you were a kid?
I did see all this when I was a kid. I'd watch anything I could get my hands on, especially at
I was just surprised that you got your hands on Torso because, like you say, Italian film. So.
Well, you guys were probably too young, but like drive-ins were all the rage when I was a kid, 5 or 6. And my dad would go and you'd go see a Mickey Mouse movie, and on the screen next to it, he'd be playing.
I think I'm actually more surprised that Torso you saw it at a drive-in. I was thinking you got that at like a
bodega or something. Yeah, or home video. Yeah, same here. I'm actually surprised. Especially
in Texas.
Yeah, well, I mean, even like
international film on a drive-in in Texas. Like, what?
I want to say that, and I want to say, and it wasn't a trailer. I don't know, but I saw a lot of good stuff like that. But I didn't see like Rosemary's Baby there too and stuff like that, and didn't understand much what was going on. But it just felt a certain way. But I mean, I was like every kid when Star Wars come out, and I was like 7, 8 years old. I was like, this is the shit, and I want to make movies, And I just figured out later that it should be horror movies.
So, what made these the gold standard for you?
I guess to me is I want to say the lasting power that they're still with me today, just as strong as they were when I saw them as a kid. So something must have resonated. If I look back at it now and you're asking me to describe why, I would say because it's like you said, I feel like they treated filmmaking with respect, and the 80s was fun, but I felt like that's when they're just kind of going with the flow and cashing in. And of course it's just gotten worse. We're now, CGI effects and all this kind of stuff. So I just think they really tried to make good movies. I don't think they said, we're making a horror movie. Who cares? I think they're trying to make just good movies. Nowadays, it's a horror movie. Who cares? Just put it out.
Well, I mean, as far as the big name studios, I could definitely see that being the case because it's not cheap to make a film using literal film. Digital is a bit cheaper.
That's right.
Some of the indie films can get away with being a little on the cheaper side, but even those are a little more expensive again because you're using film. I would say that's one of the big I'm going to say this. It may have been a negative impact to filmmaking to go digital, but in a lot of other ways, having digital photography for me personally was a huge thing because, like, for example, I always thought I looked horrible in pictures. I thought I was very unphotogenic, and so I never wanted to take pictures. And after getting a digital camera, I stumbled upon the fact that, if you take 1,000 photos and you delete, 99% of them, you wind up with 1% that's actually halfway decent. And so
better odds,
wasn't. Yeah, well, it's the same odds, but what you do is you increase the number so that your odds. 1% of 100 is only 1. 1% of 1,000 is 10. So there's definitely some good and bad that comes with it, but then you got to sort through 990 to find the 10 rather than
Well, if we had that back then, because you couldn't get a camera. My dad said, "Hey, we should make movies." Well, I don't know anything about a camera. You had to be a rocket scientist back then to figure all that out. But everybody's now
in your shoulder.
Yeah. But here's what's happening now is my niece or something will say, "Oh, I'm a filmmaker." It's like, oh, okay. But you know what TikTok. I mean? And that's what you see. Yeah. So it hurts it a little bit, that too, but that's okay. I mean, it's, to me, is the cream always rises to the top. Whoever's going to do the best at something, it's always going to go up. It's like Circus of the Dead it's more popular now than it was when it was released because it's a slow climb for a movie like it. It's got to get out there and get to those eyes and stuff like that. I still meet people like you guys, some people that haven't even seen it yet, And they go, oh, this guy made a cheesy clown movie. But, you know, when you watch it, you go, hey, you know what? That was an actual pretty good movie. And that means a lot to me.
So you mentioned meeting some people that you became friends with. Was that in your childhood or later in your teenage years?
I would say even in my I've got friends, you know, back from when I was 7 and 8 and stuff like that, plays with Star Wars figures at the park and stuff with. One of them is my co-writer, Lee Ankrum. And we've been buddies since we were kids playing Star Wars figures. But he's the only person I'll collaborate with on anything because he's the only person that'll take my hatefulness and spite. And
I thought you were going to say something else.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I'm bad. He'll say, well, if somebody tries to question me on something, I'll get mad and yell at him and stuff. But he's pretty good. He'll tell me the next day, I go, you know what? You're right, buddy. Let's try that. So he's so out of the box. But I have a good gut, and my gut always tells me the right way to go. So that's why I'm so happy with this Cowboys from Hell script. It's like the best thing I ever, you know, written. I'm so proud of it. It's just, it could be an epic book too. You know, one of those Louis Lamar books, if you read it, but with more, you know, penis and demons in it. But
and penis demons.
Demons. Yeah, demons.
Yeah, that's So was Lee also a fan of horror, or was he just that accepting of you?
No, same way with him. And if you talk to him, he'd even say the same, probably name most of the same movies and stuff like that too.
Well, it's always good to have somebody that empathizes with you and, you know, enjoys the same things you do. It makes it easier, you know, when other people maybe might be teasing you or making fun of you. Did anything in these movies or in real life, you know, trigger any lasting fears or anything like that?
No, I mean,
probably not in your case.
No, because you know the dad wouldn't allow you to be fearful of anything, and I guess the only thing I didn't tell him is just the fear of failing, you know, at something or making a bad movie or something. I always tell everybody, really, the only thing I've ever failed on in life was diets, and that's about it. Yeah, but no, not really.
Did you participate in Halloween?
Oh yeah, big time. Until I started the haunted houses, and then that takes that away from you. But you know, in the 70s, trick or treating. What isn't like trick or treating now? I don't care what anybody says. I mean, even the store bought costumes, I wasn't going to buy the plastic mask and the vinyl pajamas. I'm not going to do that. So I had to make my own costume, and that was derived purely from imagination, you know. And that's helping you be a movie maker, you know, or you know, special effects person or whatever.
Did you have a favorite costume?
Man, I'm going to say like a dead cowboy. I've been doing a dead demon zombie cowboy since I was like 9 or 10 years old. Maybe that's why I'm doing this Cowboys from Hell.
You know, that's one I can't say I've seen very often is a zombie cowboy.
Where did I see it, you guys? House? Was it House that we saw one?
Oh, yeah.
House 2?
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
You got to think he's in Texas. They've got the materials handy.
That's true.
You got to make do with what you got.
Well, that goes back to that Six Flags gunfight. You guys saw that as a kid, you know, at like 5 or 6, you know, up to like 12. And by the time I was 18, I was trying out for them. So, I mean, it was something that was, you know, always thought about in the back of my mind. And, you know, another movie that did that too was The Frighteners. Had that guy in there, the judge that was like a cool dead cowboy. That was really cool too.
Okay, yeah.
The Frighteners was Peter Jackson, wasn't it?
Yeah, I think it was.
He was like pretty cool, yeah. And it was John Aston that played Gomez Adams who played him?
I remember the name, but I don't think I ever saw that one.
The Frighteners, a great movie, Michael J. Fox.
Really?
Yeah, great movie. And Sinbad? Is it Sinbad in it?
Oh, God.
No, you should check that out. It's a lot of fun. It's a Peter Jackson, early Peter Jackson movie. He got his start in horror.
Oh, yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah, I always love how, you know, everybody knows him for, you know, his Lord of the Rings movies and fucking The Hobbit. And it's just like,
there's a lot of people that know him in horror biz.
Puppets doing drugs and having STDs.
That if you watch that Bad Taste, you know, it's not the greatest movie, but if you look at those monsters running in the field and then you watch Lord of the Rings, it's the same thing. It's like, because it's in your DNA. Yeah, it's if I keep doing movies, I guess my stuff will be, I'll have clown penises and everything, I guess.
Nice.
Was there ever a time that you were actually terrified of something as a child?
Tornadoes used to scare me, you know, living in Texas.
Yeah, understandably.
But you know, I'd go out and ride my banana seat bike and stuff like that, and then I'd watch 60 Minutes that weekend on John Wayne Gacy when he was arrested or something, or all these stories coming out. But you know what? When I was a kid, I was fearless, you know, and they used to let you ride around. I'd ride around 2 or 3 miles away from home, you know, as a kid. going down streets, and you got old men in the yard. Hey, you want to come in here and look at this? I mean, you never knew. It's like, it ain't like today. You wouldn't let your kid out of your sight these days. But back in the 70s, it was an adventure, and I guess on par with a modern day Tom Sawyer and Huckleberry Finn kind of thing.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of great adventures on the bike. That's why that Stranger Things, I think, resonates with a lot of people.
Yeah, it does. It really does have that nostalgic reminder of your childhood of just, riding around the neighborhood with friends on bikes.
But then what happens to it is they start out and those kids look perfect, and now they look like they're 40 or 50 years old, and like 3-year difference. You go, what happened?
They got older.
They got
older.
They ran for president.
Did you have any scary dreams when you were a kid?
Yeah.
Any recurring nightmares?
I have a lot of nightmares. Even now, I try to write a lot down, and when I have problems on writing and stuff, movies, I really try to focus on it while I'm falling asleep. So that usually gives me the answers of which way I want to go. A lot of this stuff all my movies eventually I feel like come out of my dreams.
Did you have any reoccurring dreams when you were a kid?
Yeah, I don't know, because it really just changes, because I think it's just a product of what you're picking up on and stuff. The most reoccurring ones to me now that hurt me is, loved ones that are passed and gone. Missing them and talking to them and stuff, or they're in some kind of trouble, and then you wake up and realize they're already dead or something, but that kind of stuff. So yeah, I can't think of anything offhand reoccurring.
Okay.
I know this is when I was younger, waking up or having a dream about being naked or in your underwear would freak you the fuck out. But now when I have those, I could care less. So it kind of tells me I'm in a better place in life. Like I just don't give a shit.
Yeah.
It's one way of looking at it. It's a good way of looking at it. Yeah.
I guess we could say for you, horror already started to make you happy in your childhood.
Yes. An escape. It was the great escape.
Okay.
It was taking on an adventure.
There's our answer, Steve. Interview done.
The reason I bring that up is because, for some of our guests, it has started in childhood and some of them it has not. So.
Gotcha. Look at this stuff, you guys. It's like everything's at the fingertips of these children now. It's like my 3-year-old grandbaby, can work a phone better than my 81-year-old father-in-law. They know this technology. It's like anything they want, it's just quick and at their fingertips. If we wanted to think about something, it was purely in our imagination. And what all these movies and stuff that I saw, all they were like fuel for my imagination. They weren't always. I wasn't always able to watch them or always able to go to the drive-in, before VHS or whatever, or the movie theater. But they're always in my imagination because they're in my subconscious. It was just it was fuel, for my imagination.
Yeah, and I think that's still the case for a lot of kids today. I mean, imagination typically is on top of whatever it is that you're seeing or reading or hearing about. It doesn't stop just because you saw something or heard something. Nope. So moving into teenage years, so what were some of the scary stories or books or movies that influenced you in your teenage years?
Yeah.
I think books and stuff. I've always been, I haven't read, I don't like reading, and I don't know why. And a lot of people, send me scripts and stuff. Hey, check out my script. And it's like, oh, okay. But it's like pulling teeth because I think I'm ADD or something. But, you had to read all the stuff you were when you're in school and stuff like that. But I started trying to read the Stephen King books and started liking them and stuff like that. And knew at an early age that they weren't doing them justice in the movies. I was aware enough to know that it was like, hey, this is a big difference. So I said, if I ever make these films, I'm going to make sure to get it right. But in my teen years, I mean, I guess like Elm Street, started coming in, and Hellraiser and all this kind of stuff. And I guess the production value started going up. It started being a little bit flashier and cleaner and brighter. Yeah. You know what I mean? It was, they'd do anything and everything in those 80s movies, so they would just completely push the envelope of the crazy stuff you see. Like Toxic Avenger, that was one of those VHS that I must have rented, 20 different times throughout, a 3 or 4 year period. Because if I had friends or something coming over or cousins, I said, you guys got to check out this Toxic Avenger thing and stuff like that. So just the craziness, the absurdity of it, and stuff like that. So, but I'm trying to think of scaring. I just can't think of anything that really scares me. I mean, being rejected by girls was the worst thing I worried about being a teenager. But it's like you said, if you play the odds. Some guy told me once before, is like, well, if you ask 100 girls out, one of them says yes, then there you go. He goes, it's a numbers game, Billy. You got to ask more and more out. So that kind of taught me to do that. But I was a late person to get married and all that kind of stuff, just because I was just so afraid of being with somebody and being unhappy, and them not digging what I do and stuff like that. So I waited till I was like 48 to get married.
Measure twice, cut once.
Yes.
Yeah. Chris and I are both in the same boats. We're plus 40 and have never been married for probably similar reasons.
And I would have told you the same thing. And this woman come out of nowhere, and man, it's like, I know it's cheesy to go, oh, it's when you meet the right one, you'll know. It's like, it come to that point where I knew she was getting serious and I had to make that decision. But then I thought, I just weighed the option. What, do you want to go on what you're doing or give this a chance? And I just didn't want to ever lose or nothing. So I gave it a chance, and I'm glad I did. I got hit with cancer really bad within 6 months of getting married, and damn near died over the next year and a half. So if she wasn't in my life, I'd have been in big time trouble.
Mm. In my case, my dad's been married 3 different times, and it's never really been so great for me. So I kind of shy away from that. I like Chris said, measure twice, cut once. Mm-hmm. So Stephen King, Elm Street, Hellraiser, anything else jump out to you in those years? And
as far as like influence,
if not, that's fine. You also wouldn't be the only person that drifted away from it in your teenage years and came back to it later.
No, I stayed with it. It's just pulling out exact ones, and maybe it's the Sunday morning stuff. But I'm telling you guys, I probably rented every horror movie that were on these Mom and Pa shelves. There's like 3 Mom and Pa. I grew up in Mesquite, Texas, and there's like an Abba Dabba video or something, or Bonnie and Gary's video. It's like I'd go to these and just every horror thing. Like, oh, I've seen that one. No, I've seen this one. Oh, I've seen that one. And I had to rent it.
Like a weekly thing on the weekends, you would just always go to the
totally.
Yeah. And be like, all right, which one haven't I done? No.
And Lee would come over or something, and I had a VCR in my room or something like that, and. But then I started getting older, and then started, by the time I was a late teen, you could go into the back room and my mom wouldn't know. And then I'd just spend the weekend jacking off all weekend to porn. So that changed it. I wish they would have made some horror porn, and then I would have been in business. But,
yeah. Let's see. In teenage years, did you expand that social circle in terms of, did you have other friends that were into horror? Or was it still just you and Lee?
No, definitely we did. Because I met Lee doing later in life. We drifted apart a little bit, and then he come back around as I was doing haunted houses for the local police explorers, and he was a police explorer. But doing the haunted houses back then, since I didn't have cameras, was my closest way of getting to horror and horror movies. Because you're living them out inside the haunted houses and stuff like that. And you got to scare people, and the power you get when you scare people is just so much fun. It'll bring a big smile to your face. So that was the only way. If I was in this day in life, I'd probably just be using my iPhone or buy a cheap camera just to try to make anything I could when I was young. But you didn't have that kind of stuff back then. I mean, you know what I mean? But back then we were spending $2 on lunch. It wasn't like now you spend $20 just to go to lunch these days. But things were a little bit different back then. So the haunted houses were the key with me. I loved the haunted houses and created all my favorite killers in the thing and started working on costumes and special effects. And I think that was the best thing haunted houses did, was teach me and Lee how to do really good set design and stuff like that, and attention to detail.
Yeah, I was going to ask if you did like the special effects, makeup, or the sets. It sounds like so you did everything. Did you and Lee made these haunted houses like from scratch?
Yeah, from scratch, and we don't like going to Spirit and all that. We've never liked that kind of stuff. Maybe for a year or two, but then we realized that was all cheap and mass quantity, consumer stuff, and we wanted something out of the box. So we basically we'd spend money and buy mannequins from garage sales or then from stores closing, and try to get our hands on other things. And there was no internet to look up, and say, hey, where do I get, what is this stuff called ultracal to mold clay? We didn't know that. So we went to this guy in At the time, he was in Forney, Texas, up the road from us, and he was doing the haunted Verdant Manor. His name was Lance Pope. And when we went to that haunted Verdant Manor, it was the coolest thing I've ever seen in my life. And he kind of took us under our wing because we were interested in learning how to do masks and stuff like that, and started teaching us the ropes at a very, very young age. And in turn, we'd volunteer to carry stuff and help them with this haunt and stuff like that. So that kind of, cut our chops. But if you didn't have that, you only had a book you could check out from the library, and it would say, call this number, in the back for products, and the number doesn't work anymore. You know what I mean? So there's no websites and stuff. So it was really hard getting this stuff. But once, you work with somebody like that. Yeah. See, people take it for granted now. Probably 14, 15.
Okay. So yeah, teenage years.
Mm-hmm.
So, but you weren't really participating in Halloween at that point. You were doing the haunted houses.
Mm-hmm.
Any favorite costumes at that point?
I played Leatherface forever and a day. I still like that. And I'm a pretty big guy, but then I see like my brother, I got a brother that he's like, I think he's like 6'9" and 410 pounds or something. He's a huge hulking monster, but it's like, that's what I thought is like, once I realized, Billy, you don't need to be Freddy Krueger. You're too fat. Or I always made a good Leatherface, but see, that's when I realized I would be a good director because I could make those decisions. Somebody else would be better than me doing that. It's not about me being the star, getting to do what I want to do. It's me making a great product. And that's the best thing about me is you got to have a good filter, to say no sometimes,
How about least favorite costume?
Least favorite costume? The least favorite one is when they first started selling those cheap hockey masks. I painted one chrome and had this chrome hockey mask, a green clown wig, which I still have to this day. And like a Road Warrior costume or something. It was like a post-apocalyptic killer
Clown.
dude. Yeah, and I had I had a hockey mask and I had like knee pads or something. It's kind of gay if I think about it, elbow pads. I don't know what I was trying to do. It was like play street hockey or what, but I always hated that one. But you know what I noticed too in a haunted house is you can jump out, just dress normal and scare people. You don't even have to have a costume these days.
Yeah, that's true.
People are so damn jumpy. Yeah, nobody even cares anymore.
Was there ever a time you were terrified in real life of something as a teen?
Getting caught over a girl's house or something when you ain't supposed to be there. Or something.
Especially in Texas.
With the shotgun and all this kind of stuff. I got scared about that stuff. I did that, but I wasn't ever a bad kid as far as that. I mean, I was worried about, scoring with the chicks, and that was about the most angst I ever had was that stuff. I never really got into drugs or alcohol or nothing, so just never acquired a taste for booze or nothing. So I kind of got lucky that way. That's how the cancer come around. I never smoked or drink or do anything. So I must have got it from eating fucking peanut butter or some shit. I don't know.
Peanut butter gives you cancer?
What?
Peanut butter gives you cancer?
Well, what does it nowadays? You tell me something. Yeah.
Any recurring dreams in your teens?
Nah, just like sexual wet dreams. You wake up all messy. No, I'm glad that was the one good thing.
Not counting those. Everybody has those.
Oh, yeah.
I could have those. I could be, raped by 1,000 Hawaiian tropic girls in my dreams now, and nothing will happen. So it's like, I'll be like, bitch, you're going to have to kick it or punch it or bite it or something. It just takes more the older you get. So
you got a rubber band? I got this trick.
No, I'll tell you the trick is you put the larger Funyuns on there and then try to get aroused and break the Funyuns. I call it the Hulk dick is what I call it. Y'all can quote me on that. The Hulk
dick. There's the soundbite for this interview, Steve.
Yeah.
Funyun ring.
I remember telling the wife that. I said, "Hey, watch this," and I don't know. She started laughing so hard she was like crying. She goes, "I don't know why I married you, and you do this weird stuff like that." But the worst part was after I broke them, I still ate them. I'm not going to waste them. What the hell?
Oh God. All right.
Hulk dick.
Yeah. We're getting some sort of a distortion from your mic there. I think you might have.
Oh yeah, it's getting worse.
Is it mine?
Yeah.
It is yours. Yeah, I wasn't sure if it was the whole line at first or if it was just one of us, but it does seem to be your mic.
He did say it was an old mic that was actually in the process of falling apart. All right, now I'm going to hit recording again, and we should be good to go. All right.
Growers we're talking about.
We're talking about Hawk Dick.
Yeah,
oh, yeah, the whole thing with the onion rings. Yeah.
Funyuns.
Funyuns. Sorry. I imagine it would be more difficult with full-on onion rings.
They're like onions, but they're fun.
Most of the time.
Yeah.
Until I get a hold of them.
That's like the worst cock ring ever.
Well, it depends on how much you like onions, I guess.
Well, I mean, if they wouldn't be very effective. They would crumble at first thrust. Effectively, that's the worst cock ring ever.
Yeah, they do break easy, but they make you feel good about yourself, though.
True.
I guess that depends on the size of the onion rings.
They come in all sizes.
Yeah.
Good and piss. So now that you've become an adult, what are some of the scary stories or books or movies that have impacted you as an adult?
Well, I mean, just of recently, a lot of people dog on it, but Midsummer, I liked it a lot. Because now it's different. It's not something I could do, but I mean, I appreciate it. And recently I just watched Them on Amazon Prime.
No spoilers. I'm on episode 3.
That movie it's so brazen. It's wonderful. So that's what inspires me, but I don't know that it scares me. It almost makes me excited to say I just, to respect somebody that does such a good job on something. I really dig that. It just gets me happy in a non-sexual way.
Well, I mean, focusing on what it is that you feel they did well still tells us something about you. What do you think they did well?
Well, I think they did well as they just thought outside the box. It's not following some cookie cutter. Like I always say, follow the blueprint to Halloween 78 if you want a good slasher movie. But then these people don't feel like they follow the blueprint to anything. So it's kind of cool. So it makes me think that there's a path outside there that I can find that I just haven't found yet, that I can leave my masters that taught me, what to do.
Also, it gives you hope for the industry that someone is doing something besides a reboot, rehash.
There you go. And you know why they do the reboot stuff is it's the name has cash value and that's it.
Yeah, no. We've been over this. It is security. It's basically why invest money in something that's a 50-50 chance when you can invest money in something that's at least a guaranteed 20% chance because you have that core nostalgia fan base. And
that's what people say is like, they go, would you redo Texas Chainsaw Massacre? I go, well, I wouldn't want to. I think they should just let it all be. But if I had to, I would like to because they're really screwing it up. But they got one coming out now. We'll see. But it's filmed in Bulgaria or something.
Yeah,
there's a new one coming out in Leatherface. They said it's like Old Man Logan, but it's Old Man Leatherface or something. I don't know. Everybody's been talking about it, but
is it set in Bulgaria?
No.
Okay.
They just it's supposed to be Texas, but when you film in Bulgaria, it don't feel like Texas. That's not basically
Texas Chainsaw Massacre has become like Wrong Turn at this point, where it just kept getting more and more not Virginia and definitely filmed in Canada.
Yeah. Sad.
Okay, I look forward to this one.
Yeah, me too.
Money for you.
But with that said, I'll just go do my own original stuff. Then.
Yeah,
That's what I'm saying. Yeah.
So yeah, I guess the answer to the question then would be like anything influence you in your adult life would be things that are original. Yeah,
I think original. I mean, I don't know. I mean, it's just like not a horror movie, but like No Country for Old Men. I mean, that's a movie that sticks with me for whatever reason. Certain movies just stick with me and I can't let them go, but it's part of my DNA. People say Tarantino rips this off and he steals from this. Like, no, he's not. He's just influenced by a lot of people like we all are. And we don't even
by something and not rip off.
Because it's your DNA. When you watch that movie, you take part of that movie. It's like the Highlander.
It's like any other movie that has an epic saga with spaceships in it. It's a ripoff of Star Wars,
right?
Because they had spaceships.
Right. But my goal would be like, okay, you got to do one in space with spaceships. How do you do it different? I try to look at the different approach to it. Just clowns to me were cheesy and stuff in all these movies I saw. And I saw this movie called Dr. Giggles. I was buying all these dollar DVDs at the pawn shops and just to watch all these obscure horror movies. And I watched Dr. Giggles and they're using these plastic arms that I see for sale at Spirit. and their movie. And I thought, well, if they're using this in a movie and it's out on DVD somewhere, I can make a movie. And that's what got me to start and do Doll Boy. Yeah. So I knew I could do just as good.
You actually recognized the props that they were using as props from Spirit of Halloween.
Yeah. When you walk outside his house, his cabin, there's all these like arms, and there's like 3 or 4 arms and 3 or 4 feet. But it's like if you cut off, you, me, or anybody cut off feet, they're not all going to be the same, are they? They're going to look different. Everybody's got different feet and all this, but they got like 5 right hands and 5 right feet. It's like, come on, you people.
Yeah.
That's what they had at the time.
Yeah. Well, I wouldn't have been in my movie, but you could go and dirty it up and change things and add. Dude. That's just, you don't give a crap.
Some
come
design,
on.
some detail, Yeah. That's just,
and I ain't taking away or crapping on anybody's movie, but I always credit that movie for the one to get me in the movie business, because when I watched it, I thought, I can do just as good as this. I can make a movie just as good as this, and that's what started me.
How old were you at the time?
Well, now 37.
37.
Yep.
Sorry, I gotta say it every time.
Yeah.
Well, don't make any movies on your way through the parking lot.
Well, because you don't. It's like I said about technologies. I went and got a job at a TV station, thinking it's going to teach me how to use a camera and teach me how to, And I ended up getting in creative services and running creative services for 20 years. So I started just doing, 2 or 3 commercials a day, and it just taught me to be fast, efficient, and efficient, and get things done. When you show up to a stupid car lot and they want to do a commercial and they have nothing in mind, and you just got to pull something out of your rear end real quick and make it. I mean, that's what it taught me in filmmaking. So, and then by that time I knew I wanted to do it, but I was just waiting. And I did a fake trailer for remember when Grindhouse come out with Tarantino and Rodriguez? Mm-hmm. I did a fake trailer. They had a fake trailer contest, and I did one called Circus of the Dead. And so Circus of the Dead started with the fake trailer from 2007, I think.
Some of the best movies start off that way. Look at Deadpool.
Yeah. Fake trailer's the way to go. That'll teach you to make movies lickety split. I mean,
fake trailer is in a way kind of your, what do they call it? The proof?
The proof.
Or proof of concept.
But let's say you're not trying to sell something, you're trying to see where you are as a filmmaker. That'll tell you too. It'll show you your weaknesses will stand out really quick on what you're doing right and what you're doing wrong.
I am writing this down.
I tell everybody, start off with the fake trailer, because you're basically filming a mini movie in 2 minutes.
Yeah.
I mean, for 2 minutes.
Yeah, because then you still have, your possible set design, character creation, actors, makeup design. It's just a very, very microcosm of the whole film. So.
Well, like your next guest is called, what is it, Zobo with the hot gun? Or a glue gun.
Zobo with the shotgun.
Shotgun is, that was Jason Eisner, and he won that contest at Grindhouse with Hobo with the Shotgun fake trailer, which was a brilliant fake trailer.
No shit.
And then he made the movie, and he held a fake trailer contest, and I come in the top 10 on that one with my fake trailer, Mr. Fister.
Huh. Mm-hmm. So Hobo with the Shotgun, like Rutger Hauer, that started off as a fake trailer too?
Dude, and I'm telling you, is Hobo with the Shotgun's a pretty good movie, but that Hobo with the Shotgun fake trailer, look it up. It is might be one of the greatest things ever made in the history of life. I don't know why he didn't use the same people in it. He went and got big stars, but I think he should have stayed with those other ones. It's just so perfect.
Yeah, then maybe it would have been, more unknowns, more focused on the story and less focused on trailer park boys.
And nobody cares now, because it's like it just kind of falls into obscurity, it's just sad.
Yeah, and like you say, when you do something like that, it'll show you where your weaknesses are.
That's right.
If you do that and you ask yourself, would I want to see this movie? And if the answer is no, and you can point out this reason or that reason, then you right away know that those are the things that you got to work on. So
you got to get honest, guys. It's like that Vacation, National Lampoon's Vacation. Is that one girl says, well, my dad says I'm a good kisser. It's like, my wife says I'm a great filmmaker. It's like, no, man. It's like, you got to be honest with yourself. I'm a pretty good shooter, but I can get a cinematographer that blows me out of the water. That's what I need. You got to find what your strengths are and then bring in other people to help you out.
So in your adult years, is it still just you and Lee, or do you have other friends or family that are fans of horror with you?
Yeah, it's when you say friends, they've been around and been such good friends that they're like family now. But yeah, I do. I have people that'll go with me all the way to the top, and it's their decisions. I'll say, we're thinking about bringing in this one, as we start moving past, and some of them get married and have kids and they just can't commit the time anymore. So, I keep about always at least 60 to 70% of the core but there's always a new 30% coming and new friends and stuff that I'll bring into the fold and give them give them a shot. It's basically, I'll work with anybody that I respect and get to know and just like them as a person.
Okay. But it's people you work with. It's not, how can I say this? There's your crew, meaning you're working with a crew, and then you've got your crew of friends. That's not necessarily people you work with,
but those people that come in to work become
friends,
friends in that. Yeah.
Do you participate in Halloween as an adult?
No, I still do haunts. I've been doing haunts every year since I was like in 3rd grade.
Okay.
Nice.
So what are your costumes now?
Well, I dress up as a low-life, fat, indie horror director. You can't, I found it a long time ago. You can't be in a costume whenever some Karen or a mother gets mad and wants to come up there and complain because their kid got pushed in a haunted house or something.
Or are you managing it?
You got to
manage. You can't.
Yeah, if you're managing
do that
you
anymore.
can't do any costume.
No,
you can do like a light costume or face makeup or something like that. But yeah, you got to be able to, move.
All right, so you're doing management now. You're not.
Yeah, because I'm telling you, it's like somebody will say, well, my son bought a ticket and he went into the first part and left and he didn't go through it. He needs to get his money back. I go, no, man, we don't do refunds on chickens coming out the door. You know what I mean?
No.
So dealing with that kind of stuff. Yeah, that's what I mean. Get out of here. But that's the part about it I hate.
You were scared. It worked.
Yeah.
Pay your money. He went out the back because he was scared. Well, I guess he could argue that he wasn't scared. That's why he left. But whatever. Anything? Well, you mentioned recurring dreams of relatives who have passed. Anything scare you in real life as an adult?
I was when I lived up in Mesquite before I moved out here to West Texas in '98. There was I lived next, kind of on the crossroads of two big highways, 635 and Interstate 30 up in the Dallas Mesquite area, and like a restaurant row. And I was pulling out of my apartment one day and a Corvette went up under a diesel and like caught on fire. So I was like the closest one over there, and I went over there trying to help the guy. He was holding on to my arm and the steering wheel went down into his groin and he couldn't get out. And it was under that diesel trailer and it caught on fire. And at the time I had long hair too. And it all caught on fire and all my body hair and stuff. And see, Lee was behind me and he wouldn't let go. And you could hear those firemen and other people telling us to let go. But that guy said, please don't let go. Please don't let go. And but eventually, we all fell and, that thing caught on fire and the guy died and stuff like that. It's like, I think that was probably the most traumatic thing I've ever went through in life.
Yeah.
And that's real life. That wasn't fake.
Yeah, that's why we asked that question. Like there's the whole dissection of horror and horrible things and the interest to you, but when we were designing this process, Steve and I, one of the things that came up was, what about horrific things that happen in real life, because that will change your
that can
outlook
affect
on
you too.
things. Yeah, and that can, Jesus Christ, man, it's like you lived that fucking intro scene at a Final Destination 2, was it?
Well, there's like, I guess the older you get, when y'all start reflecting on things, and cancer did that a lot to me too. You start reflecting on life. That I could tell that was definitely one of the points in life that stuck out, that changed a lot of things. Maybe not take things for granted. I had a crappy girlfriend at the time. That was reason enough to kick her to the curb and and focus on your dreams and stuff, because I didn't know how much longer, because you just never know.
Could definitely be motivational too.
Very much so. Yeah.
Well, I mean, the follow-up question there usually is, how did that affect you, or how did that change how you approach life? As you say, being motivational can be one of those ways.
I think it would be is the humbleness. That's where the humbleness come from. Is back then I was in really, really good shape. I was doing martial arts for like 15 something years, and I would beat anybody that looked crossways at me or whatever, just have a chip on my shoulder and all that. It's like that taught me to quit taking myself so serious and be humble and don't. You know what I mean? Just walk with your chest poked out and stuff like that. It taught me not to be a douche.
Yeah.
So.
Well, going back to what you said from your childhood, your father being more the macho type and telling you not to be afraid of anything. But, I mean, not being afraid of that didn't help that guy. There's...
At all. Yeah.
There can be toxic... how can I say this? Lack of fear can be toxic, yeah.
But I think, you guys are digging into something deep here. And I think what I would say is, I think being Bill Oberst talked about this once in private. Is I think we were both figured out that we both got into horror because we're actually scared of death in a sense. And that's why we do it. Is if like haunted houses is, you can't be scared of a haunted house if you work in a haunted house. You're forcing yourself to take that fear. And I think it's the horrors. That's what it is too. When I was young, I'd rent Faces of Death and all this and get off on all that stuff. But now I can't take real death. I don't like it. Don't want to see it. Don't want to see it. And, I guess that's what's changed a lot too. But the reason I go towards horror is that I guess I'm afraid of losing loved ones. You know, I'm not afraid of dying per se, but you know, I lost my sister in a really bad car wreck in August of 15 and just haven't gotten over it. You know, you just don't, because I was always worried. I worked for the news and I was directing the newscast and you'd cover car wrecks every day, fatalities at this news. And I go, when's it going to be until it's one of my family members? And, you know, something happens and sure enough, something did happen. But I guess in life, I learned, unfortunately, too late that, you know, quit living in fear of everything and get out and live a little bit. You know, it's just the thought of worrying about fear and not doing things or taking chances in life is actually a worse death than something that surprises you out of nowhere that you didn't even know was coming.
Yeah. Yeah. In a similar vein, I had worked in restaurants for a lot of my teens and 20s, and at one point got an opportunity to become a bartender and get trained in that position, which I jumped at because I had always, I don't want to say I had a fear of public speaking because that's not really it, but more on one-on-one interpersonal conversations, you know, those awkward pauses and how do you get out of them and how do you avoid them type of thing. And how do you continue, you know, moving a conversation forward and that kind of thing. I had difficulty with that. And I recognized that as a bartender, you got to be better at that.
Yes.
And I realized that was like my opportunity to get paid to learn how to do what it is I wanted to know how to do as a person anyway. So kind of like what you're saying about, you know, forcing yourself to, you know, get into the haunted houses and face that kind of stuff. Similar thing, although maybe not quite as serious.
But looking at this too is just, it's who wants to live with regret someday. When now I know with this cancer, the chemo like jacked my heart up and my heart's down to like 20%. So now they got like a defibrillator and stuff in there, you know, and I can't, if I walk far, I get out of breath. But see, things before that I took for granted. You know what I mean? It's like I shouldn't have. Don't wait to accomplish all your dreams. Get going on it now and find the right way to get them done.
Yeah.
Just don't wait.
So it sounds like what you love about horror has definitely changed over your life, which is fine. That makes sense too. You know, early on it was sort of wacky, crazy shit with humor, and now there's some of that still, but obviously there's other dimensions added to it.
It's evolved.
Yeah. So the next two questions I want to ask are not just about horror. They could be any genre and across your entire life. And I'll ask the two questions at the same time because the answer could be the same thing or it could be two different things. And that way I give you both questions and you can answer them how you wish. First question is, what is your favorite movie? And then the second question is, what movie have you watched more times than any other?
Okay. The movie I've watched more times than any other. Let's go with that one first because that's a pretty simple one. I say simple, but I'm gonna say probably Mad Max 2: The Road Warrior. On that one, yeah,
good one.
That's what I'm gonna say. Now, I mean, there's other movies like I've watched Crossroads with Ralph Macchio, like ass ton of times too. That's what got me into guitars as a kid. Now, my favorite movie, if I had to just pick one, because that's weird, because it kind of depends when you wake up. Let me think about that one too. Usually
the way I go with it is, what's the first one that comes off the top of your head?
I would have to say, if it's just one, it would have to be, you know, Texas Chainsaw Massacre, just because what it's made me the director I am.
Is there a runner-up that you were thinking of?
It'd probably be The Road Warrior or Mad Max 2.
Okay. And what is it that you like? I mean, we've talked about Texas Chainsaw. What was it that you liked about Mad Max?
You know, I saw that as I was underage, and my uncle took me to go see that one at a movie theater, and I didn't know what to expect. You know what I mean? I didn't see a preview or nothing. I didn't even see the first Mad Max, and
Oh,
I don't
you were just
know.
blown away.
Yeah, it scared me and excited me, and the action and all that. I just thought it was the coolest thing. I just wanted to be Mad Max. I just thought it was one of the coolest things I ever seen in life.
What scared you about it?
The humongous, and especially what's his name, Wes.
I don't remember.
No, wait, who's that? What is that? Oh, his name's slipping me.
Yeah, there was
guy.
Humongous, and then shit. The guy who was also in Weird Science.
Yes.
With the fucking mohawk.
He's been in my friend's movie too, and I just You sure it's not Wes?
I think it is. I think it's like something.
I think it is. Yeah.
Well, aside from who this person is, what in the movie? What did they do in the movie that scared you?
Well, he's just so crazy looking, and the way he looked at that camera and screamed, it's like I really believed he was fixing to kill me.
Kill and eat somebody. Yeah.
He didn't care, and then he had his boyfriend riding on back on him with like nipple chains or something. It just like it freaked me out. No, I always kid around and say it looks like a young Vince Neil.
Now, Road Warrior was the best one in my opinion.
It's just it's like weird. Who would have thought it would have been
second?
Fury Road, like I was thinking, this is going to be a CGI cluster, and I went and saw it, and I was like, "Oh my god, this is actually great."
Yeah, no, it was good. For me, it goes Road Warrior, Fury Road, Thunderdome, and maybe the first one before the Thunderdome. You can't go wrong with the classic.
Yeah, the Thunderdome, the kid stuff. I was like, "Oh, you sons of guns!"
It's a little stupid. Yeah, a little corny.
What about Crossroads?
I didn't want to be Ralph Macchio. I wanted to be Steve Vai. I wanted to be Jack Butler, the Devil's guitarist. Back then I was growing my hair and wanted to be a rock star because I was a big Eddie Van Halen guy. But boy, I was like, gosh. But then it inspired me to go back, and then I started really getting into the blues and stuff like that. And then it made me appreciate Hendrix, and I become a Hendrix impersonator for a while, a fat white Hendrix impersonator with 1% of the talent.
I can relate as also a guitarist. I can relate.
But yeah, if you see those pictures of me dressed as Hendrix and throwing guitars and smashing them, it's pretty funny. But we had some great shows, mostly charity for kids and stuff like that. But I miss that too.
Do you see any common threads about what it is you like in horror? Cannibalism, occult, metaphysical, body horror?
Yeah, I kind of like it all. I want to tell me a good story. I don't care. And if you give me something new, kind of like this Them, or Midsummer, I mean, that's cool too. It's not my style, but I totally dig it. Like the new Joker, totally dig it. Mental health, totally dig it.
What is it about a good story that you place above those other things?
Because you don't sit and realize you're watching a movie. It captures your mind and it takes you on a roller coaster ride. It's like an amusement park for your brain.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I agree 100%. It's like in some cases, whether it doesn't matter what genre it is, horror, sci-fi, action. If it's a good story, you forget you're watching a story, and you almost become the antagonist or the protagonist, whichever one you identify with. But
and if they like, who said that earlier? Like, try to keep somebody's attention for 2 hours. That's hard to do. It's hard to do.
It is,
especially
in
nowadays.
This
society. Yeah, with these stuff,
with the rampant ADHD everywhere.
Mm-hmm. But so if you can do that, and like this Them, I got the wife to watch it too, and we were just both so blown away. Here it is. We finished it a couple of days ago, and we're still talking about it.
I heard episode 5 is very jarring. Again, no spoilers.
We watched it so quick that we watched it, I think, over 2 days. Because some of them are only 20 minutes long, some are like 30 minutes. So, I mean, we watched it pretty quick, so it felt like we were just watching one big movie. That's how I suggest you try to, just finish it on out. It's not that bad, but but it's life-changing to me. It's pretty damn awesome.
I'm seeing one thing that might be a common thread. Going back to something you said about the haunted houses, you said that there was a power in scaring people. I'm wondering if there's also some sense of power in seeing a movie that really captures you that way. But also, the flip side of that is the best word for it that I can think of is the sublime, which is the shrinking of an ego, which is kind of the opposite, where like if you... Chris knows I'm a big fan of Joseph Campbell, and it was Joseph Campbell that turned me on to what the word sublime really means, because to me, for most of my life, I never really understood what the word was supposed to mean. But the example Joseph Campbell gave was he was talking about being in Japan and being in one of these houses where all the rooms are very small and narrow and these small hallways and things like that. And then all of a sudden you come around a corner into this huge garden and you're just so taken back by the beauty in front of you of this expansive big thing. And by comparison, you feel small compared to it. Does that make sense?
Yeah, totally. 100%.
Which, like I say, is sort of the opposite of power because you're feeling dwarfed by what you're witnessing.
Yes.
Humbling.
Yeah, totally.
Which also ties in with some of the things that you've said too. So it's kind of funny that you've talked about power, but you've also talked about humility.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, because that's coming the older I get. You know, when you're young, you want to be the guy, you want to be the man. Now I've realized I think, at least in my heart, I feel is the only way you're ever going to find, perfect happiness is by doing for others and not for yourself. No matter what I accomplish for myself, I mean, it's all cool and all, but doing for other people or paying it forward seems to make me feel better than anything else in the world.
Well, I mean, the thing about power is that you have to recognize, as long as you're a human being anyway, that the older we get, the less of it we have.
That's right. There you go.
We're not a robot. We're not Superman or Superwoman. There's got to be a point at which you learn to let go gracefully. Otherwise, you're not letting go gracefully.
And then you're my dad.
Yeah.
Yeah. He dyes his hair. He wears his black shirts, sleeves rolled up. You know what I mean? It's like, it's the same thing. It's like he's still living in the 70s.
Do you recall a point in your life where maybe you saw him doing that and you decided, I don't want to do that?
No, it was always cool as heck to me. We've been butting heads over political views really bad. We still love each other and still talk and all that, but that's really, over the past 4 or 5 years, things have been really torn in half in families and stuff. But seeing that meanness and spitefulness it makes me even a better person, because I guess I'm good at really learning from what I'm seeing and stuff. So it just reminds me to not be that way, and try to just be a good dude. And I'm all for jokes. I'm not sensitive or anything when it comes to that. I think comedy is comedy, you know what I mean? And if you can't take it, then don't dish it out. But with that said, I just think that, I learned a lot from him, and he's worked hard and broke his back like he told me not to do. And he's paying for it now, with his body and stuff, cutting out on him and stuff like that, giving up on him. And I feel bad about that, but I don't know. He's taught me pay attention to surroundings and all this kind of stuff, but I guess he's just never listened to his own words. It's like weird.
Something what you said also reminded me of what we talked about earlier about identifying with a parent and then at a certain point separating from them and saying, okay, that's your identity. These are the ways that I identify with you, and these are these other ways where I identify as separate from you, which is not a bad thing. It's very normal to do both.
Well, it's like when it comes to my mom is like I always feel like I got my emotional manipulating from that. It's like, well, if nobody's going to like it, I guess I'll just go, jump off a cliff. It's like I never realized. Yeah, totally. And she's all like, she'll see me and she hadn't seen me in a while. She'll start crying and hugging me. And I'm not like that. So it's like, that stuff scares you away and stuff. She'll hear this, but she only hears what she wants to hear. Is like, that's what I always wish for my parents, is they could, and all the older people in my life, is just be open-minded and look sometimes and watch and pay attention. Quit making your decision just based on the first thing that pops in your head. Look at what somebody else is going through or happening. So that's the thing. This is like a therapy session podcast. I didn't know I get on these. See, I get on most of these podcasts. So I painted a clown face on a dong. You know what I mean? It's like, that's what most of it's about. I didn't know this. I didn't know it would be like, this kind, because I would have made a list of things like that and stuff. So it's all this stuff you got from me is catching off guard on a Sunday morning.
Well, it's probably better that it's organic that way.
Oh, yeah, it probably is. Yeah.
Yeah, often is. Usually, Chris and I have had conversations before about, that question about what's your favorite movie. And, there are a lot of people who either can't or don't want to or refuse to boil it down to one.
Yeah.
And we've talked about, should we rephrase that question? But I really feel like there's some truth that typically the first thing that comes to your mind is the right answer. Mm-hmm. And so sometimes preparing for there are some people who have really bad anxiety, and I have no problem giving the list of questions ahead of time if you want to prepare. But if you're capable of handling it, I do think that answering them organically is sometimes the better way to do it if you can.
But do y'all think though, like as far as movies, like it depends? I don't know. I think it depends more on your mentality or mood in the day, what your favorite movie is than maybe anything. Because like I said, I got so many favorite ones that I can't turn. I even watched Roadhouse with Patrick Swayze. Is that a great movie? I mean, yeah, in a cool kind of way.
I have two answers to that. So I have two answers to that. One is you're right; it does change over time. And I guess we could reword the question such to point out that we're only asking this moment in time. If you can answer over your entire lifetime, sure, but it could change tomorrow, sure. The other answer is to recognize that the people we're talking to are also in the film business, and I do understand that you don't want to offend anybody because you got to work with them again in the future, type of thing. So
I'll be honest, they should have done right, and I won't have to talk bad about
personally. It. Well, that's true too. I don't mean you personally, but I mean I think there's some hesitation. I could understand if there was some hesitation for that reason. But
no, because you know what my political answer would have been is like my favorite movie is the movie I haven't made yet. My next movie, that would be
good answer.
It's going to be Cowboys from Hell. It's scripted, it's baloney stuff. But yeah, the honest one, I would just say because I would say Star Wars, but it's just been. In light of what all the fanboys and everybody going crazy now, it's like it's kind of pissed me off on the movie, and I just don't even want to think about it sometimes anymore because of all the fighting and stuff. It just gets old.
So, are you saying that Star Wars would have been your honest answer?
No, it would have been my honest answer up until 33 or 32. Yeah.
All right. So, for you, what makes you happy about horror is a good story. And underlining that is something maybe having to do with power and humility, and maybe relationships with family members or your friend Lee, maybe. All good stuff, all interesting stuff. I guess one last question, considering the theme of the podcast, is there anything that you know of that's relevant that we haven't asked about or haven't talked about?
I think that where I was talking about how I feel like the horror community is just really good people is I think people even need to just be nice to one another, even if you're in your own family. It's like somewhere we just lost being polite and respectful to other people because we want our own personal gain. So, I mean, that's like I see cinema going there. It's showing a lot of that with things. Everything's angry and stuff now, and that's probably wise because it's where the world's leading us. But I just wish we were all kinder to one another.
Yeah.
I think that's got to start at home. You can't.
Agreed.
You got to teach that to your kids, or if you can, because to be honest, not everybody's going to agree with that.
Or our grandbabies.
Or grandbabies.
Whatever generation, the philosophy of don't be a dick.
Yes, there you go. It's easy to understand, ain't it?
Well, I think it's more than just don't be a dick. It's to actively think about other people, because if you don't actively think about other people and you just say, well, I don't want to be a dick, but you're not bothering to think about other people and what they think or want or need, then you probably are being a dick and you just don't know it.
And that's a lot of the problem is people, I'm a good person. I'm this, I'm a great person. I do this and I do that.
But you're not thinking about anybody else.
You're not right. Yeah.
Well, before we wrap up, do you want to pitch whatever you want to pitch on the way out?
Well, you can watch Circus of the Dead anywhere. I think it's on every platform. It's on Tubi for free, Prime for free. And
it is
keep an eye out for, Cowboys from Hell. Watch past credits on, I like to hide bonus scenes after credits. So look out for that. But Cowboys from Hell, that'll be coming next. Hopefully we get out, and I'm looking forward to maybe going out filming and putting my phone, giving it to my producer for like a month or something and staying away from things. I'm actually looking forward to that being off the grid a little bit.
Yeah.
Well, thank you very much for your time, Billy.
Yeah, thank you guys. That was a lot of fun.
Yeah.
That was free therapy.
Right? There you go.
Yep.
Actually, not really. We'll send you a bill.
Yeah, okay. And I'll make sure I send a check, lickety split.
Yep. To the mail. Thank you to anybody out there listening. Again, please do come visit us at horrormakesushappy.com. We've got a list of the people we'd like to interview. If you can help us get in touch with any of those people, let us know. If you'd like to have somebody added to the list, let us know. Hit us up on social media. Let us know how we're doing. horrormakesushappy.com.